Colleagues and friends, I'm Larry Leibowitz, Chair of the Tennessee Holocaust Commission. It's my honor to welcome you here today to the Tennessee Holocaust Commission Annual Day of Remembrance. The Tennessee Holocaust Commission was established in 1984 by the Tennessee legislature and is one of the oldest and most active such commissions in the country. The commission, by statute, is established in the executive branch of government and is tasked with promoting and facilitating Holocaust remembrance and education across the state. Above all, we celebrate the lives and memories of Tennessee survivors and liberators, some of whom we are fortunate enough to have with us today. On behalf of the Commission, I want to thank Governor Bill Lee, his administration, and our friends in the House and Senate for their support and their encouragement. In addition, I want to thank and recognize all of our friends in the legislature, including our fellow commissioners, Senator Brian Kelsey and Representative Mark White, as well as my hometown state senator, Becky Massey, Lieutenant Governor Randy McNally, and Speaker of the House, Cameron Sexton. It is now my pleasure to introduce the Governor of the great state of Tennessee, Bill Lee.
Hey, Tennessee, on this Holocaust Remembrance Day, people in Tennessee and across the world have an opportunity to honor the survivors and remember the millions who were tragically killed during the Holocaust. Though the Jewish people have faced immeasurable persecution and adversity throughout history, they remain strong and faithful. As we honor these courageous men and women, we have a chance to ensure their stories are carried on for generations, all while remaining vigilant against anti-Semitism and acts of hate today. Tennessee is committed to supporting Israel, and I'm honored to take part in this time of remembrance.
The core mission of the Tennessee Holocaust Commission is education. Holocaust education is not just about the history of the Holocaust. Holocaust education is about the act of remembering. That's what inspires and empowers us to change the narrative of the future. Our goal is to educate teachers and students and families through storytelling. We don't believe education happens solely within the four walls of the classroom. That's why we hold symposiums across the state of Tennessee. We bring in educators, we bring in speakers, we bring in survivors, we bring in hidden children to groups as small as 30 and as large as 3,000 people in an auditorium. One of the questions that we as commissioners get asked the most is about the future of the Tennessee Holocaust Commission. We will soon be losing those firsthand testimonials to the atrocities of the Holocaust. And that's so much a part of the power of our story and the power of our education. We have an answer for that. We have this prized possession, which is our film archives. We've been able to, over the course of several years, film Holocaust survivors living in Tennessee, allowing them to share their stories through video. And then we're able to put that out on the web and through other media so that teachers, educators, family members across Tennessee, across the United States and the world can hear those stories firsthand, and that's in perpetuity. What keeps me hopeful is that the Tennessee Holocaust Commission is here to stay, to make sure that every citizen who cares about the future of this state and creating that kinder, gentler, more welcoming society has a place where they can get the tools, the education, and the understanding that they need.
Holocaust education in Tennessee is vital. Many Americans are confident that nothing like the Holocaust could ever happen in our nation. But we must not be complacent. The farther we get from the events of the Holocaust, the more we must redouble our efforts to remember. Prior to Hitler's rise, the Germans thought that nothing like the Holocaust could ever happen in Europe, but it did. Ordinary Germans were consumed by a wicked ideology and dehumanized a group of people. In the process, they lost their own humanity. We must avoid the same fate. Education ensures that the events of the Holocaust are never forgotten. We need only to look to the rise of anti-Semitism in the Middle East and on the internet to know that the eradication of evil is not yet finished. While a day of remembrance is critical to ensuring that we never forget, we should not limit our attention to one day. The Tennessee Holocaust Commission and its education efforts make sure that this day of remembering extends all year long. Thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts with you, and thank you for everything that you do to ensure that we never forget.
Today, we are gathered not only to remember those we lost, but to honor survivors and liberators of the Holocaust in our local community. These individuals are our neighbors, our teachers, our coaches, and community members from across the state. Not only have they survived unimaginable horrors, but they have lived and flourished in spite of the violence they bore and bore witness to.
The annual Day of Remembrance is a hollow day, and this year we continue our tradition of pausing to reflect on and honor Tennessee's Holocaust survivors, as well as all of those who liberated them. It's incredibly important that we listen to all who have personally witnessed the absolute worst in our society, and this opportunity enables us to do it once again. We remember all who carry this tragic part of our history forward, whether through stories or personal loss. We stand with you, and we are grateful for your determination, your courage, and your willingness to share your message so our current and future generations understand the magnitude of these tragic events. Thanks to the Tennessee Holocaust Commission for hosting this event. Thanks to our survivors and liberators for their courage. We are also grateful for all who are here today to commemorate and bear witness to one of the darkest chapters in the world's history.
The primary work of the Commission originally was to facilitate survivors and liberators speaking to classrooms around the state. It was important at the time the Commission was founded because the liberators and survivors who really didn't talk about their experiences had begun to heal to some extent and were not only ready to speak about what had occurred in the Holocaust, but felt it was important because there was a concern that it would be forgotten and repeated. It's interesting to watch the students listen to speakers who were subject to the Holocaust when they themselves were children, because frequently the audience is suddenly aware that this is something that happened to kids just like them through no fault of their own. That gives them an empathy that they might not otherwise have found. Frequently, the children listening feel empowered to go out and try to change the society they live in for the better. As a child, I knew people who were survivors. Some of my friends' parents. I had family members whose families had all been murdered by the Nazis. And frankly, I hadn't spent a whole lot of time thinking about that from the time I was 15 to the time I was 60. But after I began working with the Commission, it has meant a great deal to me to see to it that the memory of those that survived the Holocaust and found their way to Tennessee, to be sure that those memories survived and were recorded in a method that would allow future generations of students to understand what these people had gone through.
The Tennessee Holocaust Commission was formed in 1984 by an act of our legislature. It was the second such commission in the United States. 9 years later, the Bells-Lipman families decided to establish awards which would stimulate the teachers to do their very best in educating our young people about the history of the Holocaust and making certain to the best of their ability that never again would there be such a thing as a Holocaust. Each year, interested teachers submit their qualifications for receiving these awards. The awards have been used for such things as personal development, improved classroom experience, and visitation to Holocaust memorials and institutions here in the United States and literally throughout the world. Each year we receive a number of submissions from various teachers. This year has certainly been no exception. And this year, we are introducing a new award called Notable Achievement, which comes with a $500 grant, and the recipient is Rosemary Wade. We are also honoring a group of teachers called finalists, and each will receive a $750 grant. That's Amanda Carr Wilcoxon and Angela Belk Wright. We are very happy and proud to announce the winners of this year's awards with the $1,500 individual grant. The winners this year are Suzanne Frensley, Julie Kinder McMillan, Melanie Smith, and Jennifer Underwood. We are extremely proud of our winners, as well as our finalists and our Notable Achievement awardees this year. And we thank them for the wonderful work that they do in educating the children of our state about the history of the Holocaust and the prevention in the future, hopefully, that never such a thing will ever occur again.
Suzanne Frensley weaves the teaching of the Holocaust throughout the curriculum she develops for her world history, contemporary issues, and art history classes. She has her students research and evaluate different countries for democratic and autocratic characteristics using an investigation tool she developed. And she has her students investigate why genocides continue to occur when after the Holocaust, the world promised never again. Ultimately, Suzanne Frensley is looking to build empathy amongst students by promoting a passion for the preservation and protection of human rights. The enthusiastic response she's gotten from her students gives her great hope for the future. Julie Kinder McMillan's Holocaust teaching approach centers around the guiding question: how can you ensure that future generations remember the lessons of the Holocaust? She has her students work in small groups and challenges them to develop lasting solutions that can stand the test of time. To meet this challenge, she encourages her students to use their skills of critical thinking, collaboration, and creativity to develop meaningful solutions. It's been a fulfilling process. In class after class, she watches her students learn how their actions can help create a more caring and empathetic world. Jennifer Underwood believes that it's more important than ever to educate our youth about the dangers of the Holocaust. Her students listen to the personal stories of Holocaust survivors, getting first-hand accounts about the atrocities that happened. They watch documentary films and read books about the Holocaust, followed by engaging discussions exploring what they've learned and how they can make sure their generation does not repeat the same mistakes. Every year, Jennifer Underwood hears from students thanking her for teaching them about the Holocaust, and they share with her their resolve to use what they've learned to create a better world for their generation. When Melanie Smith teaches her students about the Holocaust, she finds they gain a deeper level of acceptance for all people and cultures in the world. She has her students study current events to connect how propaganda is often used to further an agenda, how anti-Semitism is still a battle to be fought, and how genocide is still occurring throughout the world. She measures her success by how much empathy she sees in her students when they learn these lessons. Whether watching a film, reading a story, or listening to survivors talk about their lives during the Holocaust. All of this can be transforming for her students as they start to care deeper and show more compassion toward others. Melanie Smith hopes these life lessons will stay with her students for the rest of their lives. The 4 winners of this year's Belz-Lipman Award for Excellence in Holocaust Education have devoted themselves to making sure that this generation of students learns the difficult lessons of the Holocaust. Their passion and dedication to this cause will help guarantee that future generations will never forget those who perished in the Holocaust.
Today, we gather in honor and remembrance of the millions of Jews who were persecuted and killed during the Holocaust. As we pay our respects, we must never forget their perseverance and their stories of hardship and determination. This awareness is critical to ensure we stand together as a state and nation to prevent racism, prejudice, and future genocides. I hope you will join me today to honor the Holocaust survivors and victims. Together, we can do this by treating everyone with respect and dignity.
During the year since our last day of remembrance, we have mourned the loss of members of our Holocaust Commission community here in Tennessee. We now take time to honor their memories.
We also want to recognize 2 more Holocaust survivors who passed away prior to last year's Day of Remembrance, but whom we did not recognize before. They are Armin Gluck, who was a survivor from Poland, and Rachel Honoski, who also was a survivor from Poland. May their memories be for a blessing.
El Male Rachamim is a prayer from Jewish funeral liturgy. It is a prayer that asks God to hold close the souls of our dearly departed ones, to enfold them in the embrace of God's wings, and to secure their souls in eternity and grant them everlasting peace. El Male Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Amitzei Menucha אבותינו שנהרגו על קידוש השם. בעל הרחמים יסתירם בסתר כנפיו לעולמים. ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתם, אדוני הוא נחלתם. וינוחו בשלום על משכבם, ונאמר אמן.
I'm the son, the descendants of grandparents and parents, some who fled Europe, others, unfortunately, members of our family who perished there during the Shoah, during the shadow that fell on Europe, the Holocaust. I have the honor of reciting Kaddish and then leading our closing prayer for the program this year. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'yamad yivrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayerechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevorach v'olam lo me'amayim. Yitborach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei v'kudashah b'richu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata, da'amiran b'yalma v'imru amen. Yehei shlomo rabba min shemaya v'chayim, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. V'seh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the God of peace send peace to all of our people who mourn, to all who grieve the loss of those who perished in the Holocaust. Amen. These words now are closing prayer. We have lived in numerous towns and villages, and in too many of them we have endured cruel suffering. Some we have forgotten, others are sealed in our memory, like a wound that may never heal. And what can we say? What can we do? How to bear the unbearable or accept what life has brought to our people? They live with faith, not all, but many. And surely many died with faith in God, in life, and in the goodness that not even flames can destroy. May we find a way too to the strength of that faith. And may we pledge ourselves to rise up against injustice, hatred, tolerance, and bigotry wherever they may seek to reign upon this earth. Those who perished in the Holocaust left their lives and their legacy to us. Let a million prayers rise whenever people join together to remember them. Let a million candles glow against the darkness of these unfinished lives. Amen.
The lessons of the Holocaust are the same lessons taught by two great Bible passages, repeated both in the Hebrew Bible and the Christian Bible. Love thy neighbor as thyself. And, now that we have just celebrated Passover, be kind to the strangers among you, for you were once strangers in the land of Egypt. Despite all, Am Yisrael Chai, the people of Israel live. This year marks the 74th anniversary of the modern state of Israel, born out of the ashes of the Holocaust. Thank you for allowing us to serve. God bless you. God bless the state of Tennessee, and may God bless the United States of America.